It's been years since Seiko decided to establish Grand Seiko as its own separate entity, rather than just a sub-brand. To allow the corporation to more easily justify the difference in pricing to the layperson consumer, starting with the 2017 SLGW005, Grand Seikos would no longer sport double-signed Seiko dials. Though watch fans, and especially Seiko and Grand Seiko ones, can be a tough crowd, it was a move that was generally well received, as many of the designs that followed featured much cleaner dials. In a move I'm confident saying nobody expected, Grand Seiko is bringing back the double-signed dial for a revival of the 1968 45 GS in the form of the Grand Seiko SLGW005 Heritage Collection model. It's a faithful recreation of a classic, with the right kind of upgrades worthy of the vintage name. There's lots I can say about Grand Seiko history, even if we focus just on a singular model line, so I'll keep it brief. The 45 GS launched in 1968 by Daini Seikosha in response to Suwa's 61 GS, both known for their excellent chronometric performance and high beat calibers, especially considering the VFA variants. Now, jumping into the revival piece, and the connection to the original 45 GS is immediately obvious. Unlike some other Grand Seiko recreation models, the SLGW005 is almost the perfect re-release of its 60s predecessor. Seiko lovers like myself will love the double-signed dial and high-beat logo printed beneath the Gothic script GS, but parking the nerdiness for a minute, this is just a really handsome watch. One of the main reasons why the removal of the Seiko branding was so well received is that those last few years of double-signed models often suffered from excessive dial text. The SLGW005 rides that line between staying true to vintage inspiration and over-branding. The small Dauphine hands remind me of those found on the 36.5mm 44 GS models, but they don't seem overly diminutive here as they do on those watches sometimes. The off-white color is also great at invoking the spirit of a vintage piece without feeling like the brand is futinaing too hard, with the overall finishing matching the high Grand Seiko standard you'd expect. While the dial is as faithful as it could be, the case size does increase somewhat from the 36.5mm dimensions of the 68 45 GS. It now measures in at 38.8mm in diameter with a 10.4mm thickness. This expansion likely warranted by the new caliber, more on which shortly. Now, I'll be the first to complain about a watch that's larger than it should be, but thanks to those flared yet short lugs of the 45 GS style case, I'm grasping at straws here. Though the dial has that taboo allure of Seiko and Grand Seiko, it really is the case where the SLGW005 shines. And literally, Tanaka outlines 3 key things that all watches following the grammar of design have to meet. Flat surfaces with no curves, making those surfaces as wide as possible, and polishing those same surfaces to a mirror finish with no distortion. The SLGW005 passes with flying colors and goes a step further, making sure features like the semi-recessed crown, another 45 GS signature, is more complicated in finish, frosting the inside and polishing the raised relief GS script. The included crocodile leather strap is fitting of a watch of this style, with a matte no-stitch finish. With that dial in case though, the SLGW005 is practically begging to be a strap monster. Regardless, Grand Seiko didn't forget about the pin buckle, finishing the steel with a large Seiko script against a hammer background, once again tributing the design you'd find on an original 4520-8000. But the thing we have to thank for this release is the new Grand Seiko 9SA4 caliber, introduced at this year's Watches and Wonders. 45 GS Grand Seiko models produced by Daini famously had 2 signature features. They were manually wound and they were high beat. Until the presentation of the 9SA4, Grand Seiko's only current manually wound movement was a 4 Hz caliber, and I'd assume the brand just didn't feel it was the right fit for a revival of a classic, and rightfully so. The 9SA4 is a really pretty movement, decorated well for the price point with neat anglage, striping, brushing, and polishing of the screws and ratchet wheel. It's perhaps even more impressive spec-wise, offering the aforementioned 5 Hz beat rate with an 80-hour power reserve and a mean daily rate of -3 to +5 seconds a day. It sports dual barrels, helping that power reserve, as well as the dual impulse escapement, which is a rarity in watchmaking. Now, what do you think of this release? Does it do justice to the original? It's quite rare for me to get excited about a new release these days, as I've mostly gone the vintage route for my personal collection. That completely went out the window the moment I took the SLGW005 out of the box. The look is rooted in 1960s elegance, but powered by a downright impressive and beautiful modern movement. My own feelings aside, the Grand Seiko SLGW005 feels like the perfect execution of a watch nerd fan service, as it ticks all the right boxes and offers a potential improvement to the original given the modern movement. I often say, if I had to nitpick, and then find some obscure thing to complain about, but I'm honestly quite stumped here. Is it finally time for me to make some room in my watch box? The Grand Seiko SLGW005 is a limited edition of 1,200 pieces, available starting in November 2024 and priced at 13,900 Australian dollars. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell us in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this one.